Good morning students and welcome back to this session. I hope you have got the notes of lesson 1 and 2 and hope too that you have completed. Today I am going to start lesson 3. Oliver learns a new game. This is adapted from a very famous novel Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. I am going to start. I'll do the reading and you all see in your book. I'll read over here. I'll give you the explanation, meaning, and one thing more to tell you, that this lesson is mostly on conversation. So wherever I need it, I'll explain you. Else, by this conversation, you will be able to understand what they are saying to each other. Okay, students? Now, look in the book. So students, now I am going to start reading. So look in the book. Oliver learns a new game. Adapted from Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. In the starting, there is an introduction given for Oliver Twist. I will read first that and then after the lesson will start. Oliver Twist was a little orphan boy who grew up in an orphanage in England. When he was 9 years old, he was shifted to a workhouse. Workhouse means a public institution in which the poor children of a small district receive food and lodging in return of their work. Where he was given the task of picking and weaving oakum. What is oakum? Oakum is loose fiber obtained by untwisting old ropes. The children at the workhouse had to work very hard, but they survived on very little food. One day, Oliver dared to ask for more gruel. Gruel means a thin liquid made of oatmeal boiled in milk or water. It's a kind of liquid food. At mealtime, this was not taken well by the people who ran the workhouse. As a result, he was sent away to work for Mr. Sawberry, an undertaker. Undertaker means a person who makes arrangements for funerals. Funerals, you all know, ceremony where the body is burying or burning done. Okay. So, one day, now an apprentice insulted Oliver's mother and they got into a fight. Mrs. Sawberry took Noah's side and helped him beat Oliver. So what happened then? He cried in his room that night and decided to run away. On his way to London, he met a boy named Artful Dodger, a pickpocket. He provided Oliver with food and told him of an old gentleman in London who would give him food and shelter and ask for nothing in return. And innocent Oliver follows Dodger to the old gentleman's residence. So this was an introduction. So Oliver was a little boy, orphan boy. He was living in orphanage in England. And then I read for you, the boy had fought. And then after he decided to leave that workhouse and to run away. And on the way, who met him? Artful Dodger. And he said that he knows one old gentleman who will give food and shelter and nothing to ask in return. So this innocent poor boy, Oliver, follows Dodger to the old gentleman's residence. Now what happened when he reached to gentleman's house. And what he learnt, what a new game he learnt, and who taught the game, this is there in the lesson. When I will read the lesson, you will come to know. Now look, page number 25. Now let us read the story to find out about the game that Oliver learns. It was late next morning when Oliver awoke from a sound long sleep. There was no other person in the room but the old man, Fagin, who was boiling some coffee in a saucepan for breakfast. Although Oliver had woken himself up, he was not thoroughly awake. He saw man with his half-closed eyes. When the coffee was done, the man turned around and looked at Oliver and called him by his name. He did not answer and was to all appearances asleep. So what happened when Oliver reached to Fagin's house? Fagin means that gentleman. So when he reached to his house in the morning, when Oliver woke up, this man, Fagin, what he was doing? He was boiling some coffee in saucepan. What is saucepan? A vessel with a handle in which we boil water or some other thing also for the breakfast. So Oliver had woken himself up. But as he saw that old man is busy in making coffee, he just with a half closed eyes, he looked at him and he pretended that he is sleeping. After satisfying himself that Oliver was asleep, the man stepped gently to the door, which he closed firmly. He then drew from some trap in the floor a small box, which he placed carefully on the table. His eyes twinkled as he raised the lid and looked in. Dragging an old chair to the table, he sat down and took from the box a magnificent gold watch sparkling with jewels. Then this man, he thought that Oliver is sleeping. So he stepped gently to the door and he took out the small box which he placed very carefully on the table. He dragged the chair also near the table. He sat down on it and he opened that box and his eyes just twinkled. Why twinkled? Because he saw some impressive, attractive things. Magnificent means impressive, attractive. So that was gold watch, sparkling with jewels. Sparkling means shining with small points of things. Next, then he deposited the watch in its place of safety. At least half a dozen more were drawn forth from the same box, one by one, and examined with equal pleasure, besides rings, bracelets, and other articles of jewelry of such magnificent materials and costly workmanship that Oliver had no idea even of their names. So this man he just took out the watch and then he saw the watch, he kept the watch inside and then a dozen more he took out and and just examined everything. And more than that, he was having, besides that, he was having rings, bracelets, and other articles of jewelry of such magnificent materials and costly workmanship that all Oliver also watching it, along with that Fagin. And Fagin was not knowing about. He thought Oliver is sleeping. Then what happened? Now, next paragraph. As the man replaced the items, his bright dark eyes, which had been staring vacantly before him, fell on Oliver's face. The boy's eyes were fixed on his in curiosity. He closed the lid of the box with a loud crash and, laying his hand on a bread knife which was on the table, started furiously up. "What's that?" he said. "What do you watch me for? Why are you awake? What have you seen? Speak out, boy. Quick, quick, for your life." When he saw, he was just busy. Fagin was busy with the things, costly things. He was just looking at those things. Then suddenly his eyes went on Oliver, who was watching from his bed. Then this man got very angry, and then immediately he closed the lid of the box and he reached to Oliver and asking angrily. Furiously means angrily. So this boy and asked the questions. "What is that?" he asked. "Why are you watching? Are you not sleeping? Who told you wake up?" Then he spoken the boy with very fiercely. "I wasn't able to sleep any longer, sir," replied Oliver meekly. "I am very sorry if I have disturbed you, sir." "You were not awake an hour ago," said the man angrily. "No, no, indeed," replied Oliver. "Are you sure?" cried the man with a still fiercer look than before and a threatening attitude. "Upon my word, I was not, sir," replied Oliver earnestly. "I was not indeed, sir. Did you see any of these pretty things, my dear?" said the man, laying in his hand upon the box after a short pause. So when this man, Fagin, saw Oliver looking at him, he was just got very angry that why you pretended that you were sleeping. Then he asked, "When did you get up?" Then he said, "No, I was sleeping. I did not see anything." And be sure. And he kept on asking. Who kept on asking? Fagin. He kept on asking, "You saw anything? Did you see anything?" But Oliver said, "No, I was sleeping. I did not see anything." "Yes, sir," replied Oliver. "Ah," said the man, turning rather pale. They are mine, Oliver, my little property, all I have to live upon in my old age. The folks call me a miser." Folks means people in general. "Me a miser." Miser means a person who keeps money but does not like to spend it. "Only a miser, that's all." Oliver thought the old gentleman must actually be a miser to live in such a dirty place, but he only cast a deferential look at the man and asked if he might get up. So this old gentleman told Oliver that all the things which you have seen is my property. And this property I kept from my old age. When I will grow up, I will use it. So, and the folks call me miser. And then this Oliver also looked he thought that he is a miser only. So he's living in the dirty place. But he cast like differential. Differential means respectfully. And asked to get up to leave the bed. Next. "Certainly, my dear, certainly," replied the old gentleman. "Wait, there is a large jug of water in the corner by the door. Bring it here and I'll give you a basin to wash in, my dear." Oliver got up, walked across the room and bent for an instant to raise the pitcher. When he turned his head, the box was gone. So what happened? When he asked this old man to leave the bed, the gentleman said, "Yes, you can leave the bed. And just wait, there is a jug of water in the corner. You go and bring it. And I'll tell you where to wash yourself. I'll show the basin for you." So this Oliver just got up, across the room he went and bent down to raise the pitcher. Pitcher means container. And when he turned his head, means he came back, the box was gone. Which box? That box in which the costly things were kept. Next. He had scarcely washed himself when the Dodger returned, accompanied by a very sprightly young friend, who was now introduced to him as Charlie Bates. The four sat down to breakfast on the coffee and some hot rolls, which the Dodger had brought home in the crown of his hat. Well, said the man, glancing cunningly at Oliver and addressing himself to the Dodger. I hope you have been at work this morning, my dears. Hard, replied the Dodger. As nails, added Charlie Bates. Good boys, said the man. What have you got, Dodger? A couple of pocket books, replied that young gentleman. Heavy? Inquired the old man. Pretty well, replied the Dodger. Not so heavy as they might be, said the old man, after looking at the insides carefully. But very neat and nicely made. Ingenious workman. And he, Oliver. So here, when this boy got up, they had breakfast and four more friends came to join. And they were accompanied by a very sprightly means lively, full of energy. And this Charlie Bates, the four sat down to have the breakfast, and this Fagin, this gentleman, started asking the questions from them. What question they asked? What question he asked? Well, said man, glancing cunningly at Oliver. He was just looking cunningly at Oliver, that what Oliver is doing, how he's watching him. So he just addressed to the Dodger, I hope you have been at work this morning. And then he asked, hard, replied the Dodger. As nails, added Charlie Bates. Good boys. He was appreciating for the work. But what was the work? He will come to know what was the work. And then he asked, who asked? This gentleman. What pretty well, he asked for the heaviness of the pocket books. What is the meaning of pocket books? Pocket books means wallet, purses, handbags. I hope half you have understood what the game he learnt, Oliver. So, this all, they joined for the breakfast, and this gentleman kept on asking about the work. Next. Very indeed, sir, said Oliver. At which Mr. Charles Bates laughed uproariously. Uproariously means very loudly. Very much to the amazement. Amazement means surprise, wonder of Oliver, who saw nothing at laugh. And what have you got, my dear? Said Fagin to Charlie Bates. Wipes, replied Master Bates, at the same time producing 4 pocket handkerchiefs. Well said, said the man, inspecting them closely. They were good news. They were good ones. Very. You haven't marked them well, though, Charlie. So, the marks shall be removed with a needle, and we shall teach Oliver how to do it. Shall we? Oliver, yeah. Ha, ha, ha. So, now the conversation was going among these Fagin, then Charlie Bates, then Dodger, then Master Bates, all these We're just going on. What you brought? What this Oliver? He was very innocent. He could not understand anything. But when he asked, then whatever the reply was, always in positive. If you please, sir, said Oliver, you would like to be able to make pocket handkerchiefs as easy as Charlie Bates, wouldn't you, my dear? Said the man. Very much indeed, if you will teach me, sir, replied Oliver. So whatever the Fagin was saying to Oliver, for everything he was saying yes to him. And he said that whatever you will teach me, I am ready to learn that. When the breakfast was cleared away, the merry old gentleman and the two boys played at the very curious and uncommon game, which was performed in this way. The merry old gentleman placing a snuff box. What is snuff box, children? A snuff box means a small ornamental box for holding snuff. That is powder, tobacco's powder, in one pocket of his trousers. A note case. What is note case here? A small flat folding case or wallet for holding banknotes in the other, and a watch in his waistcoat pocket with the guard chain round his neck and sticking a mock diamond pin in his shirt, buttoned his coat tight round him, and putting his spectacle case and handkerchief in his pockets, trotted up and down the room with a stick, in imitation of the manner in which old gentlemen walk about the streets any hour in the day. So, this after the breakfast, what happened? This old gentleman and the two boys, he played one game over there. And the game was that gentleman, he kept so many things in his different pockets, and he put the chain, he put the shirt pin, and he trotted. Trotted means speed fastly than a walk. He trotted up and down the room with the stick in imitation. Imitation means a copy of something. Okay, he was just copying of something, of the manner in which old gentlemen walking about the streets any hour in the day. So this game was going on in front of Oliver. Now next paragraph. Sometimes he stopped at the fireplace and sometimes at the door, making believe that he was staring with all his might into shop windows. At such times, he would look constantly around him for fear of thieves, and would keep slapping all his pockets in turn to see that he hadn't lost anything, in such a very funny and natural manner that Oliver laughed till the tears down his face. All the time the two boys followed him closely about, getting out of his sight so quickly every time he turned round that it was impossible to follow their motions. At last the Dodger trod upon his toes or ran upon his boot accidentally, while Charlie Bates stumbled up against him behind, and in that one moment they took from him with the most extraordinary rapidity snuff box, note case, watch, guard chain, shirt pin, pocket handkerchief, even the spectacle case. If the old gentleman felt a hand in any one of his pockets, he cried out where it was, and then the game began all over again. After all, practice makes perfect. So this what happened, this gentleman, you have I read in this before paragraph, he kept everything in his pocket. He put the guard chain, he put the shirt pin, and every pocket is full with the handkerchief also. And this boy gentleman started walking right left. Then sometimes he was stopping near the fireplace, sometimes at the door, and making believe that he was staring with all his might into a shop window. Such time constantly round him for fear of thieves, and would keeping slapping all his pockets. Slapping means touching all the things are there in the pocket or not. Then this Oliver, he was just seeing this scene over there, how it is going on. He was laughing and laughing. The tears came out while laughing also. All this time, the two boys was following this gentleman closely, getting off his side so quickly. So what happened at last? The dodger trod upon. Trod upon means stepped. So Dodger stepped upon his toes or ran upon his boot accidentally, while Charlie Bates stumbled. Stumble means to hit your foot again something and you are about to fall. This happened. And that one moment only it took to take out all the things out. What are the things? Snub box, note case, watch, guard chain, shirt pin, pocket handkerchief, even the spectacle case. All things were out of the pockets of gentleman. Okay? Now the students, I'll start it tomorrow. Okay? So up till here I read and explained you. Now the leftover paras, the leftover story, the leftover lesson I'll complete tomorrow. Okay? So you just read the lesson. Okay? Up till what I read, that you read the whole lesson and try to understand what the new game is Oliver learned. Okay? And tomorrow you will come to know which game he learned. Okay? Okay, bye. Take care.